Welcome, everyone. We'll be starting in just a few minutes, right at the top of the hour. Hi, everybody. Welcome today. Glad you're with us here today. We got a lot going on, don't we? Crazy time on planet Earth. Welcome home, everybody. We're going to work on a few things here. We're going to do this. We've got Alison with us here today, and we've got Meg's segment with us today too. So looking forward to that. But what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with bringing the healing circle together. We'll start off with that, and then after Alison, we'll come back and we'll do our first gathering or where we focus on things that we want to work on, and then we'll come back with after Meg, and we'll come back with the final channel for the day. Okay, we got a lot going on today. I can't. It's all over the place. Absolutely, it's fascinating on some levels, but we are absolutely in a new place on planet Earth. So welcome aboard, everybody. Glad you're here. And you know what? It all gets easier once we hold hands. And that's the whole purpose of this entire process. Back in 1996, when I first started channeling. The group told me one thing in particular. They said, when you hold hands, you can create miracles. Real simple. So that's what this is. This is intended just to hold hands, to focus on certain things that we all want to collectively come together and lend a little bit of energy to. All right, and welcome everybody today. Glad you're all with us here. Okay, I'm going to set right into it because we do have a lot going on, but I want to just take a moment and let's all find our center. You know, we're finding out so much more about how important it is to find our center. We're finding things now, just this morning, watching the news this morning, just watching Good Morning America, which is one of the things that I watch sometimes in the morning. They're coming up with all these things now about mindfulness. Now, Dan was on there quite a while ago. Dan Harris is a mindfulness teacher. He is a meditative teacher. And you know, I don't really remember which side this came from, whether that was Yogananda or Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I don't know where that exactly came from, but I can tell you that just being aware of what you are doing in this moment can make all the difference in the world. That last month, last week, a couple weeks ago, I forgot what it was, but last month, the EES, the whole EES was about 3 important pieces. And the last one was absolutely critical, that we are creator beings. Now, that has a whole lot to it. You know, you right off the bat, you go, oh, good, we're going to be creator beings. We can create all this stuff. And then we run across the responsibility of creating. And it kind of takes some turns. There's some interesting things. And of course, we don't like to admit that we're creators. We have egos that we have to balance all the time. So we think of creator as being some massive person on top of a mountain that looks a little bit like Charleston Heston or with a gray beard or something. We all have different images of what that looks like. But that's the direction that we're going to be moving very clearly going forward in the EES. The empowerment stream, the Espavo empowerment stream, is going to focus on those steps. What do we need now to work as creator beings? It's great that we know that we're creator beings, but do we actually know how to do all those aspects? Do we really know how to work with all that? Well, that's what's coming in the EES. That is exactly what's we're looking forward to and building. This next week, which is later this week, actually, this month, we're coming into the 5th dimensional relationships. If you are lucky enough to have a 5th dimensional relationship, you'll understand what we're talking about here. And if you're not, you'll understand what's coming and what's next. So that's the whole purpose of this whole process, is to show us now in the empowerment stream what we have next, what these higher vibrations look like, and especially how creator beings are going to create together, because that's probably one of the largest challenges that we have. We're all creating different things in different ways, and we call this one right and we call this one wrong, and we get all messed up with all of it. So anyway, that's what we're going to be working with today. You like my little plasma? I'm not sure what that is. It's pretty magical anyway. It'll keep moving as we go through the day. So today, I'm going to step over into the other setting here because it's a little bit more comfortable for me. I can do a few more things over here because all of my controls are set up here. So welcome today. Glad you're here. Okay, so what we're going to do first to start with is to simply set something into motion. And again, we're going to go back to this creator being things, because now that they have landed that, and I will tell you, they have been waiting a while to land that one piece about us all being creator beings. And of course, we only had one day to talk about it. We had one day to talk about each one of the 3 secrets that the group wanted, that the observer wanted to share with us and talk about that. So we will be coming back into this, not necessarily as a focus of the EES, but it's going to be in everything. Everything will be about us creator beings, how we can work with that, how we can use our creations to a positive way, and how we can do these things together. All right, so let's take a breath first of all, and let's find our center. Let's find just a moment where we can stop the chatter long enough to actually go into ourselves. So take a deep breath. And let it out very slowly. Those of you who know the vagus breath know what we're talking about. Very slow. Good. Another deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, very slowly and gently. Beautiful. One more in and out through the mouth. I cheated. I took that one in through my mouth. Good. And let your eyes close for just a second. Find the center of your being. Find the center of your energy where you have access to all of it. Take a deep breath, and as you slowly release it, let your eyes come back in. Slowly bring your eyes open. You can flutter them open a little bit. Kind of blink them open slowly. Good. What we just did was to align ourselves. By all of us going through that same experience, in a way we held hands. And that's what we're going to keep doing. Because when we hold those hands and align ourselves in these ways, that's what creates the miracles. That's what plants the seeds that creator beings use. We'll talk more about that as we go forward, but we're moving into this entire area. I'm very excited about all of it because it's stuff that the group has been showing me for many years, but it's very difficult to talk about being creator beings. We all have egos that we have to wrestle with. So we don't like to call ourselves God. We don't like to think that we have decisions that we can make that affect other people, and yet we do all the time. So welcome today, creator beings. We're also going to be talking quite a bit about the bodysuit coming up. That was introduced a couple back in the EES. We'll be bringing that up on a fairly regular basis. Those of you who are Lightmaster know that I was going to do a whole Lightmaster segment on this. We never got to it. We just basically ran out of time. But I'm not going to do a whole event on the bodysuit because, again, it's one of these things that is with us all the time in many different places. So we're going to be bringing this up in the EES all the time. On top of the EES, before I go into the rest of it, I just want to tell you we have started another segment. The other segment is outside of the EES. Not everything is all in one place, unfortunately, but basically you have the abilities to come into these observer visions. The Observer has a whole new series that we're starting. We think it's going to be once a month, but there may be months we skip because we're really only going to do this when there's something very important that the group wants to bring this out. Now, right now, I've got about 4 of them stacked up, so we're going to be doing them for a little bit to kind of get these out. But what these are is big picture. The group would like to show you the big picture. We don't do much in the way of activations. We don't do much in the way of meditations, although we're going to do a little bit more than we did last time. We did hear that from everybody that they kind of missed some of the activations that we normally do to set this into motion. So we'll be bringing that back a little bit into this as well. But these are going to be formatted a little bit differently. Most of them are going to be around 2 hours or 2 hours plus, depending on what the group's talking about. The majority of the time, we're going to end up taking a break, about a 5-minute break or 7-minute break in the middle of it, so that we can take care of our physical bodies and all the fun things that we get to do. And with that, we're having quite a bit of joy with that. So this is the Earth Overview series put on by the observer himself, and he wants to share with us a lot about the big picture. These are all big picture items. Where are we with this? We haven't talked about this in 3 years. Where are we with this in particular? So that's kind of what this whole series is about. And I will say that, like I said, there's quite a few of them that are set up right now to go into this. So we just finished the first one, and it was pretty powerful. Like I said, it's a new format for me, so I have to kind of get used to it. The group's used to these short 20-minute channels, 30-minute channels, things of that nature. So I have to kind of readjust a few things myself. But they're very excited about this because it allows us to give updates. And you know, we're not doing any of the prediction series anymore, any of that stuff. It kind of ran its course, and now this is kind of taking its place. Once a month, we give you a big overview of one particular area. It is not a membership, at least not at this point, and you don't have to, you can buy just one at a time or whenever you want to see that. We may end up doing something with that down the road. We're changing so many things. We're trying to change slowly so that we don't confuse everybody, and I'm sorry if we have, but this was pretty much all prompted by Barbara's passing. We had to rearrange not only everything in my personal life, but also in the business life and the business world as well. So that's kind of where we're at with it. Thank you all for being a part of this here today and being a part of the family. So right now, what I'd like to do is once again, take a deep breath. And as you release the breath, let your eyes close if you wish. And we're going to start right off the bat with a healing circle. And again, if you have those in the room that you'd like to hold hands with, reach out and touch their hands. Take their energy and feel it moving around the room, coming in through the left hand and out through the right. Big circle. And if you're by yourself like I am, all you have to do is reach out, hold them there for a minute, and you'll feel somebody take your hands. The group will take your hands at some point. And when you feel that, don't try to squeeze it and see if it's real. Just feel it. Own it. Know that you felt it and feel the energy move. That's the most important part. Feel the energy move in the circle that kind of clears you out as it goes through you. It kind of realigns much of your own energy. So take a deep breath and we'll let that go now. And as we're running this energy, let's take a minute right now to place yourself or anything that you are working with in this healing circle. There's incredible energy right here, right now, by having this focused intent all over the globe. And trust me, it is all over the globe. So with this, take this piece right now and just let it light up your heart. Let yourself be felt. Feel all the light coming in and the energy just lighting you up. Perfect. And now, in a minute, we're going to reach out also and bring anyone else into this healing circle that you have agreed to bring in. For the most part, we ask that you get permission to bring people into the healing circle, because even though you can certainly do it without permission, it's not a problem. The biggest problem is that it won't have the effect that it can have if you have their permission. So ask if it's okay if you drop them into this healing circle or invite them into the next one that comes along. We do them every month. Take a breath. And let's wrap them all up. There's a big circle of us all around the globe right now holding hands. Let's wrap them up in the center of this and just open up your hearts. And if you're feeling any lack of energy, it's coming in through your left hand in just a moment. So let it fit. And take that and just completely light it up. All those people in the center of this grand circle are just getting beamed right now. Does it mean they're getting healed? No. It means you're planting the seeds of their healing if they so choose. So take a breath and send that out right now. Let it happen. Let them feel it. Just imagine looking at their faces, corners of their lips start to smile a little bit. They start to feel this energy coming through. Excellent. Well done. Now deep breath and blow it out forcefully. One more. And blow it out. And just kind of lose some of the energy in your fingers. Good. Excellent. Okay. Excellent job. So what we're going to do now, we'll come together with that healing circle right off the bat every time. We will come into this and do a short little meditation. I will tell you what the group is nudging me to do. I don't know when it's going to show up, but it's probably going to show up in the EES. And that is a slightly different form of meditation. Steve studied hypnosis. Steve studied meditation. Steve had a difficult time meditating, not with hypnosis, but with meditation. Huge difficult time staying focused in the right point, staying focused in the energy. I think everybody does to have some degree. But at that time, the group not only showed me how I could do it, and just by practice, but they also showed me that there's other ways to do it quicker. And actually what that means is not so much that you'll be in and out in 5 minutes rather than 30 minutes. What it really means is that it doesn't take you that long to find your center. What if you were able to achieve that vibrational status of having everything centered perfectly by taking one breath? What would that feel like? How could you use that? Well, this is one of the things that will be coming in the EES. Not next month. That's already planned out. I'll tell you, they've got them stacked up here. I've got higher attributes I have to listen to all the time, and they've got them all stacked up as to where we're going with this new. It's kind of the creator series, and you'll notice that we kind of added that to the title a little bit, that this is a creator series. But all of that came from the fact of this 3 points that the observer wanted to share with you, and the last one being that you are creator beings, complete. And furthermore, you can use that creation, or it can be used for you by default, which is what happens most of the time. So we'll be working quite a bit with this whole series. This next one, starting in 2 days, is about being creator beings in a relationship. How does that work? And what do relationships look like? And we're going to be talking about all sorts of relationships, not just love relationships, although that's one of the areas the group wants to cover. So we'll, over the 3 days and the 4 days for the special access day, we'll be bringing quite a bit of that in and showing you some new attributes toward relationships, things you can look for, things you'll see moving pretty quickly through that process. But then we'll go into those different levels. All of them at this point have to do with being a creator being on planet Earth. And wouldn't it be nice to know which creations, which manifestations happen and which ones don't? That's coming up, not this month, next month. Yeah, we got a lot of plans coming. So anyway, we'll be sharing a lot of that with you, but I'm very excited about this process. The new series is separate from the EES. It is not included in the EES. We do have to balance everything here. I have to answer to the group. I not only have to answer to the group, but I've got to make enough money to keep my business alive too. So that's kind of the 3rd dimensional or 5th dimensional attributes of this as well. So like I said, since Barbara passed, we're shuffling kind of everything around to find the comfort zone, not only for us, but for you to be able to join us and get the most out of this. So I hope you enjoy this. And please let us know. Drop us a line. Let us know in the tickets, the little tickets down at the bottom of the page. We'd love to hear your feedback. So take a breath. We'll be back in just a moment to work specifically with a lot more going on with this. We're going to be coming in with the larger healing circle of planet Earth. We do have a couple of items that are boiling right to the surface that the group wants to talk about right away today. So I'm glad you're all here. We're going to hear from Alison first. She gives us her vision of the month coming. And I got to say, Alison, this is really difficult. We basically moved to the half of the month. So she's got a little bit of this month, a little bit of next month, and everything else, but she's just done an awesome job of relating to what we're doing here and try to offer us the most. Alison, by the way, does incredible sessions with people. She is considered to be a psychological astrologer. If you live in the UK, you probably have seen her on BBC. She is on regular programs there as an astrologer, having to do with political influence sometimes. It's fascinating. So welcome, Alison. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Aspavo.
Hi everybody, Alison Chester-Lambert here, and it's lovely to talk to you once again. As you probably know by now, I do the astrology part of the show with a special astrology called psychological astrology, which is a mix of psychology and astrology, and especially useful actually for one-to-one work, but it can be applied to sort of the bigger picture. So here I am talking about it. What have we got on for this year? Excuse me. So this time last year, when everybody was asking me if we were going to have a great year because we, had come to the end of what we believed was our year of the virus, and I was looking at the astrology and I was thinking, no, we'll be having exactly the same conversation next January as we're having this January. This virus isn't going anywhere. And I said as much, and that's turned out to be completely true. Well, it is here in the UK anyway. The virus didn't go anywhere, and the year that's just gone was probably just as bad as the previous year, if in different ways. Anyway, so the question is, so what's going to happen for the year ahead, 2022? Will we still be having the same conversation about the virus at this time in 2023? And I'm very pleased to say that no, I don't think we will be. I believe that it does now finally peter out. I do see some activity next December, but that's a normal time of the year in the UK anyway for us to get viruses. We all get sick in December, as we did this December, and so therefore I'm going to say that our health isn't completely free of viruses, but I don't think the year ahead has got anything like the same astrological signature as the two that we've just had. So I hope that's some kind of nice thoughts. I can't think what to say. Anyway, so some kind of solace. That's right. Anyway, so talking about the month ahead then, what we have got in the astrology. So we have absolutely at the moment, the Sun is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. And so this means that today, and sorry, I'm recording this on the 17th. You'll get to hear it on the 18th. So apply that to it. So it means that we are able to look deeply into something and rummage around in something that doesn't normally come to the surface. Now, this can be cathartic, as in a release of pressure, or it can be, oh dear, the wheel has come off because of the things that came up which are normally kept down below and not allowed to appear. So hopefully it has been a reasonable time for you. We also have the full moon, which is in Cancer because the Sun is in Capricorn and they're opposite each other. And so it's likely that issues have been about families because Cancer Capricorn is an axis which talks about families, and it talks about the unconditional love of Cancer and the conditional love of Capricorn. And it talks about Cancer's wonderful sensitive love and Capricorn's more stern authority and discipline. And it tends to bring up things where people feel sensitive and emotional, but on the other side, there are people who do not feel sensible and emotional and actually feel as if it's time that somebody had a lesson or something like that. Anyway, so that's where we are right now as I'm talking to you, which is yesterday, if you're here today, if you see what I mean. Let's move on to what's happening on the 20th. So the Sun moves into Aquarius on the 20th and begins to approach Saturn at 14 degrees of Aquarius. I particularly like this particular change. When the Sun moves from Capricorn, which I find very heavy, very dense, very drab, I find I'm dragging myself along and everything seems to be such hard work when the Sun is in Capricorn in January, and the weather has been so cold here, and so it's freezing and you have to wrap up with everything and then you can't move, and it's that restriction that I get with Capricorn, and I also get the sense of dieting and giving things up and not enjoying life's luxuries, because after all you did that too much around Christmas. But anyway, once the Sun moves into Aquarius on the 20th, I always feel this sudden uptick. I suddenly feel a release. It's as if the earth has let me go and I'm moving into the air again, and I can feel the sky and I can sense the boundaryless movement. So I particularly like this one. It's always the first thing of the year that I look forward to is that movement of that Sun going into Aquarius, and I think, right, okay, I can start to breathe more and I can see more and my vision goes further. It's a great time for anything to do with electronics and data and information technology of any kind, if it carries data. It's all great stuff for Aquarius. Aquarius is very visionary and forward thinking and scientific and inventive. bit of genius in there. So I like this time of the year. With the approach to Saturn, we are going to invoke the Saturn-Uranus square, which has been in the sky all of last year. And so what I want to do is talk just briefly about that. So what we've got from the 30th of January to the 5th of February, we've got a period where the Sun enters the sphere of the Uranus-Saturn square, the 90 degree, and it brings a resolution period. So it's a resolution of recent tensions, or the tensions of last year. It's about where something very striking and ingenious, innovative, new, groundbreaking stuff is held back by something old-fashioned, archaic. There are boundaries, there are problems, there are things that you can't get out of the way. And so there has been science versus the establishment. And I think I've seen that in the UK, where we have the scientists who advise the government on the virus giving their advice, and the government, of course, not really wanting to give all this money away. So there's a collision there. Anyway, in your personal life, if this sort of resonates with you, if there's something in your life which has been an irritation, where you've not been able to move forward, and you've sensed the tension, the conflict, then this resolution period going from the 30th of January to the 5th of February should be useful. And you should certainly be working to see everything that you can see. The sun brings very positive influence, and also has the effect of putting stage lights on something and making us or enabling us rather, to be able to see further. So use that period for that. Then on the 1st of February, we have the sun and moon getting together in the sky in Aquarius. So this is the new moon in Aquarius. I like this one too. I like all the chatter. I like all the networking. You look at Facebook at this time, whenever we get the new moon in Aquarius, it's always a different time every year within a certain month. And you can see Facebook bursting with all of the chatter. And I also like the fact that things that were difficult with the computer, things that you can't possibly do, and you've got virus overload and you've got malware and you've got all this, and you can't possibly sort it out. For some reason, on this particular new moon, which occurs on the 1st of February this year, you will be able to sort it out. And then you can bask in the admiration. And when people say, wow, you sorted out that X chromosome, Y said decapitated thingy, whatever nuisance thingy that was, going around. And you go, yeah, sure, it was easy. Ha, 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 ha. But in actual fact, you just did it on the right day. So there's your day for impressing yourself with your newfound skills on the keyboard. Okay, so do I have anything else to offer you? Oh yes, as we're heading towards the next Global Light broadcast, so heading towards the middle of February, that's where we get the full moon coming up, and that's when we get the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Leo. I will get this right. And that's all about friendships. That's all about, the power and the control within friendships, and who gets to sort of, be the top dog, or, be, when you see all the birds on the telephone wires and then they have a little argument, there's a big fluffing, and then they settle down again in their new seats, and then one of them wants to change. And so I always think that time around Aquarius and Leo is like that, everybody's moving around. And anyway, so there we go, heading towards the spring. I need the spring. Does anybody else need the spring? My goodness me, we do this year, don't we? I'm looking forward to talking to you next month, because it means we'll have lighter nights, and it means that we'll be looking at summer, and I will feel so much better, and everybody else will as well. Do get hold of me if you'd like a reading. Very good time of the year to have a reading. Sun in Aquarius, we're using a keyboard, haha, and we're using the internet and stuff like that. And it's lovely to sit and have a chat and a coffee, isn't it? So that would be nice. I would look forward to you getting hold of me. You can find me online, Alison Chester-Lambert. Fill in the old form and it would be great to speak to you. Do have a fabulous month, please, please. It would be great if you did, and I look forward to seeing you, and yay, let's get on with it. That's nice, isn't it? Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Allison. Awesome. So the 20th is a really big day, obviously. So it's also the day we're starting our next seminar. Sorry, had to throw that in. Absolutely. Be back in just a second here, and we'll get started with the next level of the process. We're going to step right into this. I'm going to step into a channel here in just a second, but I just need a little breather for a second, and we'll have a little drink of my tea, and I'll be right back with the group. A spa for everyone. Greetings, dear ones. I am the Keeper of Time. I join you this day with great joy to look at you all upon the earth holding hands in this way and focusing your creative intent to come together in some way and to do something is absolutely amazing. Your energies and your light are starting to grow on planet Earth. There's much coming with this process, dear ones. What we'd like to talk about here in this moment is a couple of focuses that are going on the planet. You can have a huge effect on these things, much more than you know, just simply by holding them in your heart. Now, some of these are difficult. Some of these are what you would call bad news. Not your favorite thing that you like to read in your daily newspaper or on your news stations. Much more ominous in many ways. But at the same time, just by becoming aware of it, just by shining your attention on it, that plants seeds of light that can start creating all new ways of working, all new circumstances around that particular situation. So that's what we're going to ask you to do here this day. There are several things taking place on planet Earth. One of the beautiful things that we're talking about is the virus. And as we mentioned, you have an opportunity to eradicate the virus, or at least bring it under control in this year, in the year of 2022. Now, you won't celebrate it, you won't say it, you'll just simply go about your lives and go in the normal way. But there is an opportunity to create that, and we say it's an opportunity because nothing is certain. You're on the planet of free choice. And all of you are choosing different things, so it's very challenging sometimes. But we tell you, you have an opportunity to completely move away from this, or at least bring it under control. Much of the ways that you have with your flu virus and the common cold and things of that nature. You still have them all the time, and yet they're one of the things that you can prepare for, you can watch out for, and you know how to work with if you do catch it. Well, there's many of these that are taking place right now, unfolding in many places on the planet. And we tell you there are some magical things that are taking place in response to this entire evasion of the virus that it has happened. Now, in the very beginning of speaking of the virus, we talked about 3 to 5 years before you would find your way out of this. So you're not even at the 3-year mark yet. And if you eradicate it in 2022, you'll be ahead of the game, but you have that capability. You have that opportunity to at least stop having it control your lives. And that is magical. That's something everyone is looking for on the planet. So take a deep breath and let your eyes close for just a moment. Find your center. Radiate that beautiful love from the center of your being. Let it find its way into the universe. All the path of least resistance that it can find. It's a magical time to be here, dear ones. You've brought this with you. And plant that feeling right now on your path. Plant the seeds of light so that when they are crossed, they will awaken from the dream and become part of your reality in some way or another. These are magical times, and you are creator beings. So take another deep breath. This time we're going to focus on a problem on the earth besides the virus. The virus itself is doing rather well and can actually harmonize with you, as we mentioned, during this year. Many people are starting to take note of that and help that. It doesn't take much, just a little bit of harmony. Now the next one is a little more challenging. And we've already worked with this a couple of months ago. We talk about Russia being on the border of Ukraine, getting ready to make a big move. In fact, it almost happened today. So it's very close. Push, push, push to try and put back together the origins of what used to be the Soviet Union, trying to constantly put that back together. But what most people aren't understanding is that there's a need for this, at least upon their view of this. There is a need that very few people are seeing, and that is that there is much money problems in Russia. And they believe that this can be resolved by simply moving over into the Ukraine and taking over many of the attributes of the Ukraine. This has already happened, of course, with Crimea, where they set up the false flag operation, whereas people went in and created all sorts of problems to where the army could come in and resolve the problems. That's happening now. It was called off earlier this day, but it's happening on a regular basis. This was the plan, and it keeps getting postponed and postponed, and yet more and more people are gathering on that border. This is a takeover event that you'll be seeing unfold in a few days. But the most important part about this is to know that you have a part of this. You're aware of it. And even though it's something in your heart that may bring about unbalance, you have this balancing mechanism, sometimes drives you crazy, always trying to balance everything, make sense of everything, figure out what you need to do and where you need to be. So many more things happening. We tell you, it's amazing. Let go of the balance for a time. Let go know that this is not yours to deal with. But at the same time, you can plant seeds. You can plant seeds in the Ukraine. You can plant seeds in Russia. You can plant seeds in the hearts of all mankind everywhere, without even talking about the subject sometimes. It's possible to do this on more ways than you're aware. And although it does have an effect, an immediate effect, the real effect is felt over 72 hours. So once this magnetic energy hits, you have about 72 hours that you'll see things move around a little bit. It looks like it goes the wrong way. It looks like it goes this way, whatever it is. Do not judge during this time. It will swing back and forth. But we'll start that 72 hours right now. And that's what we'd like you to do. Just pull this situation into your heart, into your awareness for just a moment. You don't need to judge it as good or bad. You don't need to judge it as right or wrong. Simply pull this situation and know that there is much tension and much energy going on here. Human lives will certainly be at stake on many levels. And you can make a difference right now. Bring that joy, that light in your heart, that hope, that dream for humanity that you have, and plant it right in your future, right on your path. You're walking in this direction. 3 steps from now, you will trip across it. Perfect. That creates the opportunities for you to carry that light even further. And you're not the only one that's going to be planted in. For when you put something in your own path in that way, it's also seen by others. And if it's seen by enough others, it will change automatically from the collective heart and the collective vibration of humanity in general. It's an amazing time to be here. You have more of this than you can possibly understand. So take a deep breath, dear ones, and just release it. onto the planet so that the beings on planet Earth can all feel that love for just a few moments. Unconditional and on both sides. If you want to talk about sides, that just divides things even further. Is it right or wrong? Again, the division is too much to deal with at this point. You must take responsibility for everything taking place on planet Earth, including this. That's why you came. Many of you have actually transferred back here through time-space. Yes, some 300 years in the future you existed. You've been through this already. And here you are, trying to make more sense of it, trying to reevaluate things, trying to put it in a different situation to where you can move through it collectively in a higher state, a higher vibrational range. Well, we tell you, dear ones, you have already done that. For you time travelers that have been here, waiting to try and figure out why you're here, what you're doing, we'll tell you that you've already avoided World War III 4 times. 4 times. It started in different ways, in different areas, movement in certain areas with very definite plans, only to change their heart, to change their mind. Sometimes because of running up against great difficulties, and other times just because they found the light. They found the light and probably ran across the light that you placed on your own path. That works. So right now, what we'd like you to do is to take a deep breath and plant the brightest light in your heart and throw it out into the future in your own path and consciously plant seeds of light, of love, things that will remind you why you're here, things that will set into motion the higher state of vibration of all of humanity. You have done well, dear ones. You made it. 300 years back from the future is not an easy journey, but here you are. Oh yes, very few of you recognize that or know it. Somewhere deep in your heart it resonates as truth, but you don't have all the proof that you like to have, the scientific evidence and all the rest of it. That will come in time. But right now, know that you are in the perfect place at the perfect time. You have avoided World War III 4 times in just your lifetime. Well done, dear ones. Well done. And much more of this is coming. Every day, humanity rises a little bit. Yes, sometimes it's difficult to see, and yes, sometimes it takes a little dip or a change of direction. But for the most part, you are rising vibration. You are coming together. One of the attributes that we haven't spoken of in a while, and it's coming up fairly soon, is talking about the no more secrets, where humanity is with all of that, what that looks like. It'll be coming fairly soon. Watch for it. Living in a time of no more secrets is not only a drastic change from where you all are, but it is such an easier lifestyle, is it not? Oh yes, everyone's worried, well, what do they know about me? What can they find out about me? Well, you put all that out there, haven't you? All you need to do is look at Facebook and look at some of the social media that you've recorded your lives over and over and over again. And yes, it's much of it is analyzed over and again to kind of put you in a little category, to classify you in some way so that that information can be sold, can be passed around. Is it harmful? No, it's actually a way of life on planet Earth. It's just that most of you did not know it was happening in quite the way that it is. But it's a big deal now. And all of you are holding light and being on contract in ways that you didn't think you would in this lifetime. It has changed very drastically. And we'll tell you, the observer has more for you in just a little short time to talk about the next events that are coming right now. These are grand times on Earth. Your seat has been reserved. Yes, it has a reserve sign on it, waiting for you to return from some 300 years in the future. You made it, dear ones. You made it. Welcome home. It's with the greatest of honor that we greet you in this way and ask you to treat each other with respect. Looking in the eyes of God is not easy, but you do so every time you make eye contact. Nurture one another at every opportunity and hold those doors open for each other. Play well together. I am the keeper of time. A spavo, dear ones.
Hi everybody, so nice to be here with you on the GlobalLight broadcast. Mid-January 2022, a whole new year, all the possibilities and potentials. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is a term that we have in hypnotherapy called cascade healing. Now what cascade healing actually means is just what it sounds like. Cascade means in more than one. It is almost like a waterfall effect. And when we start to investigate our beliefs and amend that programming, changing our subconscious mind's dominant programming into positive dominant programming, that means we are changing beliefs that we've held on to for a long period of time, sometimes all the way back to childhood, decades worth. And we start to realize that the things we took on as beliefs are nothing more than an idea that we accepted as truth. And we never went back and investigated them again. We never looked and checked to see if they were still in alignment with who we are today as people. And oftentimes what happens when we start to acknowledge that these beliefs are different and we do something about them, i.e. hypnotherapy is bringing resources to some of these critical incidents in the past that caused these programming, this negative programming to become dominant, which then affects how we perceive the world, i.e. the world is a safe place, the world is kind, people are good. If we start to then see the collapsing, cascading effect. So just as we experience as individuals beliefs that we have, that we get older, that our bodies slow down, that our health begins to decline, and these are all beliefs, right? What's a belief? A belief is an idea that you believe is true. If you no longer believe that to be true, then it's worth investigating what programming you still have there on autopilot. Because you may look and think, I don't believe that. But if your body is still experiencing that, then you've got conflict. And cascade healing occurs and can occur quite frequently when you go back and identify where those beliefs came from. Even though in theory in your conscious mind you think, well, I don't believe that anymore. If you don't do anything about that programming that's there trying to keep you safe, remember the subconscious mind is always listening. And it's always associating, that critical factor, that inner voice is always associating what you perceive in the world through your conscious mind to your programming that you have stored in your subconscious mind. And it's trying to protect you. So if you were ever hurt in the past, we've all had incidents, not always major trauma, but sometimes just remember the first time your teacher told you you were wrong and you were embarrassed. And wrong then equated to people made fun of me. Okay, I'm never going to be wrong again. I have to make sure I'm always right. Even if I'm the only one that believes I'm always right, I have to defend that. You see how that programming can get us into trouble later? It remains dominant because the subconscious mind is where our emotions are stored. So it only remembers, ooh, if you're not right, people make fun of you. You better make sure you're right all the time. You better defend being right. And then later on in life, because we're constantly in a stress response, because we're constantly needing to be right, watching ourselves, every conversation we have with people, we have to defend ourselves. Now we're in chronic stress all the time. Then our body begins to break down. And we say that it's a belief that we get older and our body declines. But is that what's really going on? Or is there programming there based on beliefs from something that's happened that you believe to be true that's still acting out unconsciously all day long? So when you start to unravel and see what's there and bring resources to it, then the body begins to shift, right? The body follows the autonomic nervous system. And as we amend those limiting beliefs, through the process of hypnosis, just like people go into deep meditation, there's no difference in brain waves between deep meditation, deep prayer, and hypnosis. We then shift into parasympathetic drive. And the body has resources. When the body has those resources, again, blood flow to the immune system, blood flow to the higher thinking mind, blood flow to all of the organs, and then that's where healing occurs. Cascade healing can then look like, not only did I amend my belief that I'm not always right and it's okay, that doesn't mean I'm an invaluable person. It's not tied to my self-worth. We're all wrong from time to time. It's okay to say you're sorry. It's okay to admit it and say, wow, I didn't intend that, or I didn't realize that, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm sorry. That wasn't what I meant. It's okay to be wrong. Actually, it feels good to apologize sometimes and to recognize and take responsibility. We're starting to amend our beliefs. And then our body starts to heal. And then we notice that aches or pains or different diagnoses start to improve. Was it really about a belief that as we age, our bodies decline? Or was it about cleaning up programming? Right, so you see how cascade healing can work in a negative, compounding things can happen in a negative standpoint, i.e. you have issues from your past that compound, and then eventually after time your body breaks down. That's also a cascade effect, isn't it? But it's going in the direction we don't want it to go. Our bodies begin to break down. And then we make up things to justify it so that we don't feel like we haven't done a very good job taking care of it. So we say, well, we're getting a little bit older, or, and we say things, but is that really the truth? Or is it coming from constantly living in a stress response with negative dominant programming? Well, if we look at the last 2 years, from 2020 to 2022, there's been a whole lot of stress, chronic stress for people. And there's a whole lot of polarization arguing about why. But if we could move all of that out of the way and stop arguing with each other over who's right and who's wrong, and not about being right in the story, but actually about being community-based, considerate, keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself balanced, having a daily practice that actually soothes and brings resources to your body, then you can be healthy. And you can have access to your, not only your subconscious mind, but your superconscious mind, that divine intelligence, spirit, God, however, whatever terminology feels comfortable for you. But then we bring access to that more consistently online because we are in parasympathetic drive, which kind of is the opens up the gateway to that. That's where solutions drop in. That's where ideas drop in. That's where we begin to really trust our own instincts, our own knowing. And it's there. It's always there. It's our programming that gets in the way. We lock down access to it if we're in sympathetic drive, if we're constantly in a defense place, consciously and physically. Does that start to make sense? So cascade healing can look like, I want to feel better about my life, and I want to relieve the stress that I'm in, because the stress, we can say all day long, it's because of fill in the blank. The government did this, my neighbors did that, I'm arguing with my family about this or that. Who's right? Who's wrong? What should we do? How do we deal with it? We are so polarized as a global community right now that we can name all kinds of reasons for it. But if we peel back the layers and we start to really look at it, what's underneath that is personal fear. And it's different for everybody. What are you most afraid of? Are you afraid that you're not safe? Are you afraid that financially you're not safe? Are you afraid that you're going to lose people in your life? Are you afraid that you're already losing family members or friends because you don't agree on things that are happening in the world right now? Underneath it is something that's showing you your programming. And if you can start to identify the beliefs and then bring resources to those beliefs. So as a clinical hypnotherapist, we do regression work for that. We go back and regress back to that. And sometimes it becomes really fascinating because we can regress back into a past life. We can regress back into the interlife where you see what you chose as a soul for this lifetime, what you set up, and start to see how you're mastering it. And that begins to bring a whole new level of self-empowerment online. And when we bring resources to those beliefs, they collapse and new beliefs are programmed in, which then support the kind of world that you want to live in. It supports your behavior, your capabilities, your beliefs, new beliefs to then create whatever that is for you: health, safety, well-being. Then do our bodies really age the same way? No. Then can a chronic condition that we've had heal? Yes. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease. That's a thyroid disease many, many years ago. And as of my last blood work and last check-in, it's no longer, the numbers are there showing I have had an autoimmune disease. The markers are there, but the numbers are null, literally non-detectable. And they said that couldn't be healed. They said Hashimoto's is a condition that is incurable. That's not true to me. That is a belief I was not willing to take on. And it took a lot of time, a lot of work, diet, lifestyle, taking personal responsibility, looking at how I manufacture my own stress, right? So many of us A-type personalities that like to get things done. We're really highly self-motivated people, but we can create a lot of stress for ourselves. And underneath that is a body that will respond to being in chronic stress. And how that manifests is different for everyone. Mine, it was an autoimmune disease. Other people, it's rheumatoid arthritis or lupus or systemic inflammation. Inflammation is so key. Remember all the talks we've had recently, the last couple of months about inflammation. But the key here is that cascade healing is available. It's also why the law of attraction doesn't always work. You can't just say things over and over and over again if you don't believe them to be true. And your conscious mind might believe them as you say them, but if you have subconscious programming that's trying to protect you from past pain or criticism or ridicule, it's not going to get into your subconscious mind. It's not actually going to change how you view the world. That's why law of attraction doesn't always work for everybody. There's subconscious programming that has to be congruent. So if each of us begin to really identify what our beliefs are and start to bring resources to ourselves, taking responsibility for ourselves, our own happiness, our own safety, our own emotions, then we begin to experience cascade healing in many areas. And I hope that's made sense to you. I hope that's something that you find valuable and worth considering. If I can help you on a personal level unravel and decode some of those beliefs. If you have a belief system that you think, I'm a spiritual person, I believe in the good in the world, and yet my body right now is suffering, and you tell yourself a story that it's suffering because you're doing it for the collective, then I'm going to be concerned about that, because that is not something that is necessary. I personally don't believe you're here to suffer for everyone else. I believe that there's subconscious programming there that's in the way of your healing. And that every single person that's here right now is here for great purpose, is here for contribution. So I want you to be feeling your best. I want you to be up for the task. I want you to be aware that sometimes what you believe consciously is not necessarily what you have programmed from the lives that you've lived, because it can be past inclusive, but also from this one, from birth forward. It's fascinating to begin to consider that sometimes the circumstances before your life and during the birth process are patterns that you have taken on, and you don't even realize you've done it, and you're recreating those scenarios over and over and over again in your life. We are such incredible beings, and we are so complicated and yet so simple, and it can be whatever it is we want it to be for our own growth and our own learning. But I hope you choose to learn and to grow in a way that's positive, that's healthy, that's reaffirming, that has resources to make you feel good every day, because we need so much more good, people feeling good, people doing good as we move through all the next phases that are to come. So with that, I'll turn it back to you in the studio. I will say thank you again so much for having me here. It is always such a pleasure to come and discuss new tools and new insights and the perspective as I see it as a clinical hypnotherapist. So enjoy the rest of the show, and I'll see you next month. Bye for now.
Makes sense, doesn't it? And as many of you know, Meg also does incredible sessions with people. Meg Adamson, hypnotherapy.com. I'm going to show it to you. We'll flash it on the screen at the end and give everybody their credits and so forth. But she does some incredible sessions with people through hypnotherapy. Has just completely exploded with hers. Has been awesome. Anyway, thanks, Meg. Glad you're all with us. I'm going to drop into channel here. We'll go into the final channel for the day. But before we do, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we're doing in a couple days. 2 days on the 20th, which Alison said was going to be a really big day. We're starting a whole new process around relationships. Not just relationships, but 5D relationships, higher vibrational relationships. How did two creators fall in love without stepping on each other? How do people combine, not just in love, but how do people make relationships? In reality, all relationships have similar attributes. Some of them cross into sexuality, some of them don't. It depends on where you're at, but they all have very similar attributes in some of these ways. We're going to be covering a lot about that. So we'll join you right afterwards with the final aspect from the observer in just a few moments. Espavo. Greetings, dear ones. I am Observer. I join you this day with a beautiful vision of planet Earth. You see, you are moving incredible energy. We know things are difficult there. You're probably running across more challenges than you are signs of peace these days. And yet, all of it is coming together because you are moving by leaps and bounds. And in reality, you're accomplishing much more than you understand, even through the difficulties. You're starting to learn more about your own truth and how things evolve for you, not only individually, but as a collective as well. This day, we're going to speak about one aspect in particular that's starting to happen to everyone on planet Earth. And interestingly enough, very few would even know it's taking place. So we want to bring it to your attention, let you know what's going on. Many changes are taking place on the planet over and again in different ways. And yet, the perfect people are in place to make sure that this light grounds and grows and evolves. You are that. You are the light workers. You are the workers of planet Earth who've come to change everything. Some of you have even on your second time around as you've traveled backward 300 years just to be here during this very unique time. Well, there's another aspect that's going to help you, and that's your own spiritual family. Let us explain a little bit of that. See, when you are home, you're part of everything. There is nothing that you are separate from. You think of something and suddenly it appears in front of you because it's part of you. It's part of the connection of who you are yourself. And when you think in that vibration, it's almost like honoring a space, and it comes right to you. And you realize that you're not really separate from anything. All of it is connected in a grand and beautiful way. But interestingly enough, you, much like on planet Earth, even though you travel around through your daily journeys, your daily travels, many times you'll see people and suddenly you look out of the corner of your eye and you'll spot somebody looking at you who looks really familiar. Maybe you'll hear them talk and you almost know their voice. You know more about them than you probably understood. It's because you knew them from home. And furthermore, those that you really are close to at home, much like here on Earth, you have all these beautiful people that you can play with, that you can enjoy every day of your life, and yet you tend to stay in small groups. You tend to surround yourself with people that make you feel good, that bring that light, but small selective groups. When you are home, those groups are rather large. There's no restrictions. There's no energy expenditure to try and make those connections. It's all right there. That is starting to take place on Earth. But it's going to take some time to ground. It's going to take some time to anchor a new reality on your Earth. And in the meantime, there's one aspect that you're going to see over and over again. We'd like to make you aware of it now. You see, before you came in, you sat around the big table. You brought all your friends, all those beings that you know. Sometimes thousands of them, which is why we call it a big table. And you make these connections and these contracts, and you say that, oh, I'm going to be on Earth and you're going to be there too. Let's do this together. We tried this last time we were here together and we couldn't get it done. Let's try now. Let's take that next step and let's make a contract to come together and do one aspect. And you make all these beautiful contracts. But the majority of people sitting around that table do not see you on Earth. Many of them are just to plant the seeds of light that we just talked about. Many of them are there to remind you, to support you, because you're part of the family. You're part of the inner family. And we call that your original spiritual family. Before you came to Earth, even on the first time. These are all those people that said, go ahead, step into Earth, you'll love it. And then they laugh behind their back because they know what's coming. And they coax you into it. Well, all those people are still there. And they're around you and they enjoy you even from home. Well, now what's taking place is interesting. Because that energy of unity is coming back onto the planet. And the concern is that it won't ground. The concern is that it will flow completely over the planet and make a difference, but not stay. So what is happening is all those beings around the table have decided that they're going to get your attention in some way. And that is going to be happening over the next 6 months. You will be connecting with people. What will it look like to you? Well, it's difficult to describe right now because your emotions on Earth are limited during the virus and all the craziness that's going on. You can't really see a lot of people outside of your normal circles, but you will. And sometimes you'll spot that one person, and you won't know their name, you won't understand them, but you'll see their smile and you'll recognize it. They'll be from the original spiritual family that sat around that table. They're all coming to remind you of your greatness, of who you are, of all the light and all the energy that you have behind you, that you set up most of it around that big table. But even if they're not incarnating with you or interacting or having contracts with you, they will show up in your world to plant seeds, to remind you of who you are and where you began your journey. It's amazing. The first time we showed the keeper home, we took him down this long street, kind of like a Western that you would look at in your movies. Very old place, all the buildings made out of wood, dust on the street, and he's walking down the street with Ilra. He had just come across Ilra. And he had just remembered Ilra. Because when he was on Earth, his closest friend was not part of his earthly beings. So Ilra was not a part of his world in any way. He was not even aware of that word. But over a short time, Ilra started popping in. Small places at first, just a wink, just a cosmic wink, if you will. Let people know that something's happening. Even though you don't know exactly what it is, you know it's important. You can feel that light. All of you will be seeing this coming the days ahead. Now, what of these people? Does it mean you need to change your life and bring these people into your world and be close to them from now on? No, that's not the way it's going to happen for most of you. Most of you, the original spiritual family members, will come through. Sometimes they'll pass you on the street and you'll turn and you'll look and you'll make an eye contact and you'll recognize the spirit. Maybe not the human, but you'll recognize the spirit. In that moment, you have received one of the greatest gifts because they planted that seed of light in you. A seed of remembrance. The part that you left when you entered the veil. And as you divided into 11 different dimensions of time-space, all of those memories were left behind. Now, you'll see them start to return. Now you're going to see them come into your world, even for just a moment, just to plant that seed. Yes, some of them you may become friends with. Some of them you may welcome into your world. Some of them you may have a space for. But it doesn't make any difference because those seeds are planted in the very beginning, right off the bat. And then your job from that point will be to take those seeds and grow them, to nurture them, to share this photosynthesis with the sunlight, share how it grows. They're all behind you, dear ones. Yes, when you sat around the big table, some of them said, "Oh, go ahead onto Earth, you'll enjoy it, it's wonderful," and they're snickering, knowing perfectly well that you're going to have some challenges. But they're also very much behind you, and they're watching every step that you take because you're connected to them. Even though you have no reference for them right now, they will show up. Over the next 6 months, you will have a steady stream of people coming back in to remind you of your own light, to help reflect your beauty and your magnificence in the world around you. Start to see where it all goes and how it works. You are magicians on the game board. You are all creator beings. Everything that you balance between your heart and your head manifests. And we will be talking about that. But there are many of the attributes that you're unfamiliar as you step into the higher vibrations. They change slightly. But many things do as well. So take a breath, dear ones, and find your center for just a moment. Your job is to receive those seeds of light. Oh, some of them you may disagree with at first, because you see, around the big table, you didn't always agree with everybody. That's why you had the table to begin with. You wanted a wide variety of views, of visions, of perceptions. And now you're getting them again. So some of these people will come to cross your path. You've set that up. You have specific contracts to make these unfold. And they are underway now. But know that you're being well guided, dear ones. And even though some of these people you may see, and you connect, and you recognize their spirit. You may ask them what their name is, where they are from, anything of that nature to try and connect, but you won't have the connections on that level. These are connections from home. And they are great indeed. You cannot ignore them, which is the reason that many of them will be coming very quickly and passing through your field rather than staying there. If one comes into your field with those attributes, and you can't seem to take your eyes off them, you can't seem to not listen to every word that they're saying, it can change your life outside of the contracts that you've made. So many of them will come through very quickly. They'll plant the seeds and be gone, leave you with only that beautiful memory of that first sight, of being able to recognize something beautiful, but not quite being able to identify what it is. Your spiritual family is taking care of you and nurturing you in ways that you have no idea. When you return home, there'll be one that taps you on the shoulder, and you may not recognize them at all. And they'll say, "Do you remember when you went through this? Do you remember when this happened? I was there. I was on your shoulder trying to guide you, trying to give you the courage to take that next step." That is your spiritual family. Well, the spiritual family is reuniting. There is a reunion of the marvelous spiritual family. And yes, many of them are people you know. Sometimes you know your best friends are part of your spiritual family. Other times they are contracts that you've made here, conscious contracts that you've made on the planet during these times. It doesn't make any difference which one's which. These are times to grow unity. And you do that very simply by finding the likeness. When you see someone who you know inside, dare to tell them that. Dare to tell them, "I don't know who it is, what about you that I know, but I seem to know your spirit. And I just wanted to tell you that. It's good to see you." Sometimes that can make a huge difference in somebody's life as they walk forward, especially if they're walking tentatively in their own light, which is what most do. They know the light has an effect on everyone around them, so they try to walk where it doesn't have the effect. Interesting. We did not think of that one. But you did. So take a breath, dear ones. Once again, find that center of energy, which emanates from your heart and bounces between your heart and your head. And let it light up the room. As if you are calling in your spiritual family, because that's exactly what you're doing. Give them permission right now to approach you in your daily life, to get your attention somehow, to see them, so that when they walk by, you notice. Take a breath and set that into motion right now. Oh, did you hear it? There was just a cheer from all those people around the big table. They heard you. They now have permission to approach you. And they will. Some of them will be bringing things that will change your life, if you so choose. Because you're on the planet of free choice, always. But it's going to be nice to have new choices, new opportunities, new places. Dear ones, you've moved more energy than you can possibly know. You've created a new world, and you're stepping into it. You hold many more of the attributes of the new world than you understand. And they will be there to remind you of those. That is the memories that they will stir within you. In a moment, you'll remember almost as if you're an entire lifetime, because you'll have it connected to another being. You are grand beings of infinite nature playing a game, pretending to be finite. But we know who you are, and so do they. Your spiritual family, your original spiritual family, is searching for you. It's time. Enjoy the ride and the journey. And with that, we leave you for another month to bring back the connection of light, knowing that you are light workers doing your work all over this planet. Now you have some help coming. Enjoy the journey, and when you spot someone and you connect with them in some way, even if you cannot catch up with them, even if you can never identify that to them, say thank you. That connection, that one aspect of being able to say thank you in that way, integrates it into your life in a whole new way and balances it. So when you see these people smile at you, the first thing to do is to say thank you to the universe for allowing that alignment, for allowing that connection, for all the things that had to move aside for them to connect with you, for them to look in your eyes for just that split second. It's happening. Watch for it. Anchor it. And say thank you. It's with the greatest of honor, dear ones, that we bring you these larger pictures, so you can see your own path of least resistance that you have laid out in front of you. These are magical times. You're much closer than you think. Well done, dear ones, well done. So the greatest of honor, we ask you to treat each other with respect. Nurture one another at every opportunity and play well together as you create a whole new game. Aspavo, dear ones, I am observer, and I like to watch. Aspavo.